Yes, now I can hear you. So we have with us Laurie Chandler from Bondsmart. You can share your screen and start whenever you're ready.
Okay, is the screen share viewable?
Yes, yes,
okay.
We can see it.
Great. Good morning, everybody. I'm here to showcase Bondsmart's Investor Center engine, and I'm Laurie Chandler. We are a financial technology company designed to make access to investments simpler. We're 4 years into our business, and we're kind of champions of retail investors, inventors. Interesting to hear that word earlier. And I'm also a UAE qualified investment professional. Our approach is KISS, keep it super simple. So any solution for retail investors needs to cover the main capital markets in the UAE, and that is both equity and kind of debt. So if you actually look at retail investors, generally they are novices and they are young. So this chart here just shows you how much experience they've got versus various ages. And this endorses the KISS philosophy, keep it super simple, because most investors are getting younger and they are also less experienced. If you also look at the license holders under the UAE, there are multiple touch points with regard to where a retail investor could actually go. So just looking at the SCA licenses, you can see there is various different institutions that they may go to get solutions. But the key question is, because these are retail investors, the often question that we find that people get asked is, how much will I make? How much does it cost? So whatever data solution comes out, it's about keeping it super simple. KISS. So looking at what ADX has got currently, they've got some pretty clear kind of views on the equity side. They've also got a markets view page. But the debt side for ADX is pretty poor with regard to what is kind of available there. So I'll just show you kind of what the market's gone and done. So this is something that's available from First Abu Dhabi Bank, FAB. Again, the market has tried to move to a place to make things better, but they're not great. Again, if you're a retail investor and you're a novice and you're trying to actually look at something like this, it's really not going to work for you. And in addition, trying to get to some degree of technical analysis of some things is really hard. So what it needs is a very simple solution that's very much kind of visual orientated. So this is an example of what we do for putting together tabs for fixed income. We can do this and design this on a very simple basis for equities as well. And I think the point here is there is an opportunity to get a beachhead, and that beachhead can be established by taking a visuals approach and answering the key questions. Data is available, but not all data needs to be kind of going to people. So the key question, if somebody were to be investing in DP World, is how much will I kind of earn? Well, 3% per annum, a total return of 12%, 1 year holding. A quick tweet about that information, it's all there. Additionally, this kind of information is designed to be very visual heavy. It's imagine more people go and look at a property website and what is available to buy because of the user experience of visuals, then would probably go to a website for kind of selecting stocks. So this is very customizable. It's also available to be fully broadcast media. So if there's a certain trend that comes out that you want to be broadcasting, saying DP World has now risen up to 7% to invest, that can actually be programmed in as well. Having tabs is one thing, but it's about, again, answering the key question. And this one, again, for bonds is, right, how long are you willing to invest? How long, what kind of yield would you like to return? Sliders are very simple ways for allowing people to actually go and filter and get some kind of decisions together. So our approach is KISS. It's very much building on a super intuitive data presentation that's like house viewing, allows the simplest questions to get asked for the market, which is generally the novice investor increasingly these days. A key, I think, for people these days is that 50% of any data needs to be graphically presented. So visual heavy is the way to go. Additionally, because of the amount of touch points that there are and actually the assets that are there, that data needs to be available at anywhere. So we've got a simple kind of API layer that allows that to be broadcast, and maybe that can be plugged in with some sponsorship from something like ADX and be available for the entire kind of marketplace, or even forming part of the SCA website. So that is our presentation. We're happy to take any questions, and hopefully that was a quick insight for you.
Right on time, Laurie. Thank you so much. We'll leave the floor for the judges, of course. Thank you.
Yes, go ahead. I don't see any rating for the issuer or for the country wise. So any reason behind that, Larry?
We do have, just for time, we weren't able to put that in. We can do that. The difficult, what we've found is credit ratings are quite difficult for most retail investors to understand, AA through to C. So what we tend to do is we tend to just do it as a barometer, with 100 being effectively everything's okay, 0 being it's a defaulted. So we tend to use a barometer that we can go up and down. So what we do is we take the credit ratings, we convert that into a score on a very simple approach, and you end up with a rating. So ratings is part of what we do. We convert that public information into a score out of 100 and then just show it on a simple scale.
Yes, Laurie, this is Mamoun. May I ask about if you have any sort of integration with social media like Snapchat, Instagram?
Yes, there is. I think the integration, to be honest, is pretty easy. The technology is there; it's quite easy to do. The key elements is actually the design principles. So all of the tabs that you've seen could be very easily broadcast. The key thing is, if you like, what's the return I'm going to get, and what's it going to cost me? So it's all about broadcasting to answer the questions that the novice investor is likely to do. We can fully do that. It's a very simple process to be able to kind of go in and answer that. So yes is the short answer. The key element though is what you choose to broadcast.
Thank you.
Laurie, hi, this is Pooja from SCA. You made a comment during your presentation that you would be for a solution for ADX, you'll be customizing your screens or your template for equity as well. But because I understand, as we all know, ADX has the number of equity share listers is quite high compared to bond at the moment.
Yes.
So what do you have any certain template in mind or certain parameters you think which should be highlighted, keeping in mind the equity investors or the retail equity investors which would actually be using the platform? Anything you would like to specify here or mention?
Yeah, so I don't know whether you guys have used, for example, there's a price comparison website called Kayak, for example, which is available. It's a price aggregator for airlines. They have a very simple aggregate where they have a line with regards to trends and just say, right, buy now or not. So there is a basis by which you can do a little bit of a trend analysis, say, look, the price of the current security is a lot below its long-term track record. Or you can convert PE to actually say, look, if you buy this share now, it's going to take you X number of years based on dividends to get some of your money back. So we have got a few design tabs that we can use to actually show where a price is now relative to its history. Again, that kind of approach can also be applied to mutual funds as well, because a lot of retail investors, I think the key element here is what we're trying to do for retail investors is help them to invest, not actually to trade, because getting into trading is a totally different world. So tools for traders is not actually possibly the solution here. It's about novice investors to get informed information on the data that's available. So the principles of what we've done for the bond, we've got for equity. And again, those can be super simple because I think the KISS philosophy approaches to that. So it's about signals, scores, general directions, and visual metaphors for those.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Mr. Larry. This is Khalid from SCA. Do you have any experience with the GCC market and the UAE market?
Yes, we do. We are quite involved in the UAE market. I used to work for MSNBD a few years ago. We have an office in rep office in the DIFC. One of our shareholders is a regulated investment business. I am SCA qualified as well, so we're very familiar with the UAE market and actually the contact points. And hopefully, some of the data we've shown is again to show actually we are active in the UAE with that. So I can go into more detail on what we actually are doing in the UAE market, but we are known and we are active in the UAE.
Okay, thank you.
So if I am a medium or a low financial literacy, and I will start to use your solution, do you think it's worth to have an introduction for what is bond and how it is different from share or ETF or any other instrument? Do you have such introduction or such module in your solution?
Yes, we do. I also own a creative agency as well. So we are kind of pretty strong with regard to messaging and bite-sized videos and some things like that. So that's a key kind of philosophy, because if you like, some of the core principles about investing is either capital growth or income. And if you look at different assets, each of those has got different elements of capital growth versus income, even under that down to cash. So the education that we can do can go all the way through from cash all the way through to property, which is very active in the UAE, through to equities, through to corporate bonds, through to Sukuk, also Islamic equities, and what makes a Sharia compliant equity different to actually a conventional equity. So we have that full education experience to do as well.
I see that you apply one of the main simplest designing, which is limited the option, and you design it very, very strongly. I see it clear. So my question about how you could balance between limit the option to the users and maybe not give him like I mean, maybe about, you know, something legal impact of this, you know.
Yeah.
So because you make it very simple, it's amazing. But what about the legal impact of this, of such?
Yeah.
You consider this.
Okay, so there's a couple of things that you can do on there. So regulators across the world, because I'm regulated in the UK, I'm regulated in Luxembourg, and also, as I say, the UAE. One of the key things that's coming out now, terms and conditions, is what we call like a yellow pages. It's this thick. So what a lot of markets are now doing is what they call a key information document, KID. But even those KIDs tend to have pretty complex language in them. The financial service industry has been great at coming up with being opaque and complex language. So what we try to do is translate that into really kind of simple some areas. So if you are investing in this, these are the things that are good, but do you know what? Equally, here's all the things that you need to be aware of. So we can actually generate KID-based documents, key information documents, that if somebody wanted to know what they were actually getting, they could do that. There's that dimension. The second thing is possibly a suitability type analysis, that if you are a kind of widow or orphan, you probably don't want to be investing in a smaller company that's doing oil exploration on there. That's not the kind of possible equity for you. So there is ways that you can do some pretty simple filtering to get some things through on there. So those are a couple of examples. I think the third point on the simple design principles, less is more, but it doesn't actually mean that what you do is you just take the first data. You need to have a skill whereby you get all of the data that's available, you put a sieve under it, and you take out the key kind of data that comes. That's actually a skill set in itself. It's not about just kind of wiping everything away. That filter to get the right data and present it in the right way is pretty key to it. And that's been something, ironically, we sat for 3 years working out what the best simple data would actually be. And getting that skill to filter is a pretty hard one, but it's now a little bit second nature to us. So we can design things pretty rapidly through what's called a design sprint, which is a 5-stage exercise for that. And that's the way that we've been approaching some of our agile developments.